Okay, a bit on the how part, because eventually things don't make this sense unless the how part is discussed. It's very deep, so it's like somebody said, okay, if I am to speak 10 minutes, give me a week, and if 15 minutes, give me 3 days. But if half an hour or 2 hours, I'm ready. So condensing it is very difficult, but I have to, because some of my friends are really interested to understand. So the core idea is anybody cannot excel and cannot make difference or cannot push the boundary if he is not really deeply in love with that. That is a simple principle of life of any successful people, right? Now ask this question: do our children love the process they are into, the way we are exposing them to the process? Otherwise, learning is essentially a lovable process, and the human species child, we have proven it by in the biology and all that, she never stops playing and learning unless she really gets stuck up by the hunger. All other mammals, everybody will go to food. Our child will go to play. Do you think which of these things describe the child's inner feeling about the system that we adults have created for them? We can't tell lie to ourselves. We can tell lie to the rest of the world. This, annoyed. What we want is essentially energized and kind of child who is mesmerized by the kind of, and he feels the pleasure. That's what it is. I mean, if our children don't love this process, they will not excel. Simple. Whatever amount we push, they are waiting for the time to exit. So there's a huge amount of negativity in the system, which has first to be kind of removed and then move on to the journey, which is extremely beautiful, where the child really feels engaged in the process, right? Now here we have to kind of understand the customer is the first thing who we are doing it for. The child's philosophy is very, very simple. A small child, I mean, his inner chemistry is, I want to play. Simple. He wants to do nothing else but to play. And this play goes on for the entire life. I'm not saying it stops at somewhere. Then the child grows a little bigger. Then she really wants to tinker and fiddle with the things. This is age class 4 and kind of, it's actually age 9 to 14. This is age 9 to 14. This age has created all Nobel laureates. Not that I am saying it. Universities research are saying it. They interviewed 300 people, most of them Nobel laureates, who had pushed the knowledge boundaries. And this what was discovered was that between 9 and 14, they were allowed to play with a toy in most of the cases, and a very interesting visual book in some of the cases, and a very respecting and questioning adult in some of the cases. But 90% of the cases it was toy. Then the child, the sex hormones and all comes up, how I look like, and kind of do people look at me, my skin, etc. Then the stage comes where child sort of identifies and tries to discover her identity. Oh, I am a third generation Hsonian, and my father was a politician sort of stuff, or a commissioner sort of stuff, right? And then she enters into a competition stage, and that competition now these are the risks which essentially can be totally turned into a positive energy where the child can really flow to the unlimited heights. Simple. Each one of them is deep, right? Here, essential thing is, but is the child really understanding that my personality is what I really have to be proud of? Because the other's personality is a distinct personality of its own. I am a universe in my own. I'm just giving an example. Each one of them is that sort of stuff, which is to be actually positively kind of tapped, or kind of we have to put a catalyst into the system. I'll tell you how. Now, if we don't understand this, believe me, we understand nothing about the education or learning itself. I mean, if you ask a primary school teacher why children come to school, and if the answer is for learning, the teacher needs to be trained. She should be out of the school. She should be in the training center. Children come to school only to play and to meet their friends. That's all. Simple. Give the child a small toy and see what kind of urge she has to go and show it to her friend. And even if you tell her, don't, it's a very costly toy, I bought it for 100 ringgit, don't take it to the school, she will still take it to the school. Only the project you have given it to her, how she can kind of hoodwink you and take it to the school. She will, because she wants to play with it. So it is that play that we have to utilize. Simple. They want to play with everything. Can't we tell them the names and objects and history and what are they made up of? Simple pencils to whatever they are eating or the air conditioner they are enjoying. That's what all about learning is, right? So essentially it's about the potential realization of each child. Are we realizing their potential, or unintentionally we are creating this negativity? Ask this question to yourself. We need an introspection over there. So what I have discovered in last 10 years is, it is these 4 things: play, question, reflection, and story. That's all. These are the things which brings in the potential of the child really to the surface, and she doesn't need your help. You adult, if you're thinking she learns because of you, she learns despite you if you let her play, if you let her ask questions, if you let her reflect, and if you tell her stories. That's all. We don't need to teach it, but Einstein used to play with the compass, and he used to play with the compass for hours and hours and hours. Then he had to learn a little bit of maths, and he got admission into university, and then he used to say, I go 5 days in a university, but I want to learn also something. And since the university comes in the way, so I go on the beach and start looking at the ocean and its waves 6 or 7 years in a row. And then he discovered the space-time concept, essentially from playing with those in his thought process. Now you see his space-time curves. Right? Do you see the resemblance? Yeah. He used to play with the compass. He says the play is the highest form of research. You're so deeply engaged. And now we also know that Einstein used to be at the level of the child most of the time than any other scientist we are aware about. Right? So that is what the teacher's orientation is about. It's not about what is LCM and what is number. A teacher is making unintentional mistakes, which is creating barrier in the learning, which is hurting the child ego every day. In that, his personality is getting stunted, very adversely impacted, and believe me, it's an impressionistic age and a very far-flung impacts on this. And that's how we are essentially a barrier in potential realization of the child. Simple, this is happening. So that's what, it's actually not more than 24 hours contact hours of exposure to the teacher, and if you, to put her into the right mindset, and things start changing. It's not a 1,000 years journey. It's just a very small thing. So we are doing damage to the nature's most precious creation. What? The human mind and spirit. What a waste. Because we are living with this system. Tie up the child with the seat, and the child is waiting for 11 o'clock bell to come out. Because I mean, it's like saying, Irfan, don't marry, don't do sex, do fasting. How long? Can I play with my chemistry? No. Whenever you play against the nature, nature will defeat you like anything. So that's what we're doing. Then, imagine This is the factory model. I have made a what they call a leaf like this. Now everybody make a leaf like this. Are any two leaf in the world are similar? If we understand only this much, that no two lemons or even leaves or fingers or, I mean, just write with your own hand, write A and write it billion times. I bet, and we can bet, and we know our science on it, you can't write it the same A any number of years you are working on till the doomsday. You can't. So how can the two child are treated in a group like a herd or a sheep? Blinkers, and we have made her a donkey, and these days with these distracting things which are totally passive, because the child has nothing active to do the way we are dealing or relegating this precious responsibility, we adults, on ourselves. What a precious input and what a rubbish output, right? So this is our total topsy-turvy. Creativity, kind of intelligence, and all that going down the drain. Somebody put it very good. So it's not about tinkering a little bit of the system. It's actually redoing the system, but the effort is very minimal. I'm telling you, the effort is very minimal. It's not. It's a matter of kind of months and weeks, not decades and all that, right? I tell you a simple story. What is actually goes into the orientation. For example, respect. This simple rule: if the recipient of the learning does not feel internally that the person, the adult around, is sympathetic and respects me, the knowledge doesn't flow, the learning doesn't flow. That's a basic rule. I internally hate. Even if I learn or cram, I'm doing it for a fear. So that's negativity creation, right? The respect has a level from 0 to unconditional respect. I will respect you even if you make mistakes. Conditional respect is, oh no, you have to respect the upper ones, and whatever, even the upper one is misbehaving with you. This is conditional respect. Conditional upward. And conditional is, if you do me, okay, if you make mistake, I will also punish you. Another thing to understand is listening. It's so deep. I have actually a one-day training on it for the teachers. It's from not listening to a listening at the child level, if you know a little bit of how child thinks, and to even the level where she says, wow, aha. Right? Now, look at it. We need to be here. If we have to let them blossom, we need to be here. The skill part, how part, is a small little details which are part of the teacher's training. This creates those changers, right? Only 1 out of 21 teachers are there at this stage. So means by chance if we get in 16 years journey, luck, but we don't. Here, if we get this class of teachers who at least tell us, okay, respect me even if I kind of don't respect you, conditional upwards, but he kind of tells us a good story and a joke. This creates this mindset. Intelligent people, but hate their own species. Typical is our bureaucrats. Simple. I didn't need to explain that. They behave as if somebody who is sitting in front of them is you are a custom officer getting salary of $2,000 and he pays $2,000 as a tax every month. I remember one day one of our friend went to meet the chairman FBR, and the chairman FBR, the way he was behaving, eventually our friend has to say, gentlemen, the salary you are taking every month, I pay more than that as a tax every month. Can you listen me for half an hour or 10 minutes. So this is the one. But we unfortunately are here. That's what creating sheeps and herds which can be easily maneuvered by politicians, by military bureaucracy, by anybody. Because they are servants of the servants. This is the servant class serving somebody, and this is the servants of the servants. I mean, the vegetables, which I know Zionists have a word for this, I forgot it. Okay, so this is what we want to be. And now, we are trying to create a system, and system is our child should learn this in terms of spiritual and this in terms of intellectual. We did an R&D and we came up with a textbook. Okay, fine. For this class, this is a textbook. Good. Now, a textbook doesn't deliver in itself, because textbook is meant to what shall be delivered. The real beauty is how beautifully and well designed it is delivered. That's where the role of teacher is very critical. That's where this role is still absolutely cannot be taken over by any technology. If somebody is in a myth, go read The Economist. They have done on the EdTech decades roundup. Education's quality is still synonymous with your teacher's quality, because there's a huge lot of thing where technology can relieve that teacher, so that teacher is even free for a very high level things that I will come to. But the teacher is a DJ. Now, if you want a DJ to be doing good, then she needs a script. And she needs a direction till the time she rises above and she becomes the script and director and executive herself. She will, yeah. But on the day one, she needs. This is about designing teachers through the process that average comes up of the system. Otherwise, by sheer probability, any teacher you get is a good DJ. That's what's happening now. And we have a class of teachers who should not be. It's a bull in the china shop. I mean, they are doing damage daily with the kids. Now, how to do about it? It's really not about adding. It's not that a nation is extremely good in the education system. There are not many nations extremely good. There are only 3-4 islands good in education in the world. America is not very good. They are trying to, but they are poor. They are poor. They are at number 32 in the world, man. Some of the states are good. And okay, that is essentially when you do the reform anywhere, actually you beautify and simplify the process, because over the period things have cluttered. I tell you simple example just for analogy. If I start teaching 20 colors, this is this and this. No, there are 3 primary colors and the rest all are combinations. There are 5 senses only, but there are unlimited number of flavors. There are only 26 alphabets, and you have unlimited combinations of the words. That's what it is. What is the critical few which matter, and rest are actually their use and playing with them and their connections. Those are simple combinatorials. This we should learn from the nature, simple. Right? And I tell you, Asher Azim has done a video on it, why I left customs. I was fortunately part of Asher, and I started, we two started this process, and then came Azhar Majid Khalis Saab. Then process really kind of, it was the point of inflection when he joined. Then Lubna Iqbal, Munib Umar, and a few others joined, but this was the core team. At the end, we had to subtract things, not add. Yeah, the initial team had to do a huge lot of work under the hood, right? But for the user, there's a lot of crap is actually gone out of it. You sit in the car and it's beautiful. It's like saying, Galileo said, give me a space and I can lift the world by simple 1 kg. Obviously, the world is 6 into 10 to the power 23 kg, but if you give me a rod, which is 6 into 10 to the power 23 meters, so 1 kg, I say create the same multiplying effect. So what are those vital few things that we tinker and we can move the earth? Simple. That is what I have discovered in last 10 years. The few things. One of them is, there are only 2 subjects. Humans have not yet discovered any third subject. If there is any, please let me know. There isn't any, right? I've gone through about 20 different nations' curriculums, right? And now look at within maths. There are only 4 topics. I'm talking KG to 12. Number sense, fractions, chances, and area. All rest of the stuff is actually their applications. For example, I'm saying calculus. What is calculus? Rate of change, area under curve. This is rate of change, right? This is area under curve. Rate means if I do go this is what is the fraction between this and this? What is fraction between my distance and time? It's actually fractions. All proportions and all Nisbat Tanasib and whatever. Or logarithm is what? It's a number sense and it's a ratios. But we drag the child, oh, you are learning logarithm and it's a very, what is it? Logarithm is in our body and senses like anything. You can inspire on it. I haven't yet come across any adult who can tell me why did he study LCM and HCF and how did he use it in the life. Show me any. There isn't. Because we didn't relate it to his life. Otherwise it is. I know it is. So that's what it is. 4 topics and rest is all. They're applications which child can see and it simply can inspire. These 4 really can be taught in first 3-4 years. 3-4 years, yeah, correct. And the child is done. Language development finishes in first 3 years. Simple as that. You got a medicine whose name is very difficult, let's say. And a couple of times you see, oh, I forgot the name. But then you go and see, oh, it is erythromycin, and etc. And then the 3rd or 4th time, you remember it. That's how language is. Did you ever tell the child they call it chocolate and they call it ice cream, they call it milk? No. Child got this name because he heard it so many times and she was interested in it. She doesn't know that this is a plug and this is a screwdriver. Why? Because this never interested her. But if you start making fun with the plug and the screwdriver, she will know the name of it and she will devise her own name for this. Because now she is playing with that. Simple. This is the stuff. Now, you can always say, okay, what about those social sciences and what about Pakistan history? What about Queen Victoria and Gandhi? All this is story, which is language. Nothing more than that. You can tell the story of the Einstein, story of the plant, story of the cell, story of the whatever, paper or story of the money. It's all language. Now, let's go a little bit into the subjects. Physics. Physics is only about 3 forces and 3 particles. Tell me any force if you have discovered last night. Gravity, weak nuclear force, electromagnetic force, and strong nuclear force. Finished. That's all. Yeah, we have discovered in the last 20 years dark matter and dark energy. We have to tell the child, let her peep into the future, but that's yet we don't know. Okay. Now, these can be told so beautifully. I mean, and we have discovered so far only 3 particles. We haven't discovered yet 4th particle. And there was a time where the particles were more than 500 and we used to call it particle zoo. And eventually we started breaking it and find out, oh guys, we were stupid. There were only 3, rest were combinations, which again tells us the same story. Things vital are few, rest are combinations, man. Those were bosons, leptons, quarks. Tell me any 4th one and I'll give you $100. There isn't any. Till yesterday we haven't discovered. But we don't tell the beauty of that, the simplicity of that. And then rest is all, whether you're telling light or you're telling equilibrium. This is all these things. That's application. Take chemistry. So, obnoxiously the chemistry is taught. This is the subject of developing countries actually. All our paints and pesticide and soil science and our health, and it's all about that. There are only 2 types of bonds and there are only 4 types of reactions. I will either give you an electron if I have an extra, or okay, let's live together. Right? Sometimes they are very close and they keep sharing and this together and we call it metallic bond. Sometimes since they have a bond and they are still left with a little bit of a magnetism, so they keep disturbing others around her and we call it intermolecular force. So essentially 2 types of bonds, essentially 4 types of reactions. I can explain you chemistry in 10 minutes. And essentially CHNOP, the carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and sodium, magnesium, and iron. This is 100% of your plant and humans. That's all finished. I don't know if we are telling them the 92 elements and remember the atomic weight and relativistic weight and molar on the day one. What are we doing? Creating hatred for learning. Bio is extension of chemistry, nothing more. Bio is the chemistry for life science, even more interesting than that, because it's yourself. There are 4 types of molecules only. And if you know about the 4 types of molecules, you're done, finished. Then they work together in a cell, which you can give the analogy of a factory, or if the children haven't visited any factory, give them analogy of your kitchen, give them analogy of your school, if they're in the New York, give them the analogy of the New York City. That's all. That's what the cell is. Cell is the most complex machine at the singular cellular level than any other chemical factory so far the human have built. Is not even closer in complexity to a single cell. That's the beauty we don't show. Go to the virtual cell of South Dakota University, just show them and the children will love it. So you don't have to invest. Knowledge is already there in terms of that if you can't go into the cell. So it's a lovely subject. I mean, then come business and economics, social sciences. Take any 3-4 things. Okay, I take speaker, I take cell phone, I take this pencil, and I take this paper. Depends upon where the kids are. If the kids are in the rural areas, show them the sugar and show them their own shoes. And keep asking them the question, simple, where did it come from? Okay, where did this wood come from? What is inside which is writing? What is this ferrule made up of? And believe and make them groups, and they discover themselves. Wow, this is there, this is there. Then tell them who are the actors involved. He is buyer, he is seller, he is government, he is transporter, he is flana. Why are they doing it? Oh, because he needs money. He needs to put food on the table. Simple. Economics is done. But if, on the other hand, you see, there was a John Keynes, and then there was a Lambert, and then there came a theory of demand and supply, and then there was a diminishing marginal utility of the hyperbolic. What are you doing, man? You want them to stay or you want them to exit? So that's about it. Make things simple and beautiful at their level, and at the end tell them, okay, this is the principle we have elicited, and there were some heroes who really had refined those principles by spending 50 years focused on it. And there are still more things unanswered. Simple. I will tell you example. History, timeline projects, simple timeline projects. Okay, what happened from 1857 to this, I'll tell you in 3 stories. And from this to this, I'll tell you in this. Children will do the role play, they will do the dramas around it, and they will never forget it. One of them will be Nehru, one of them will be Gandhi, one of them will be Abul Kalam Azad, and they will start loving the project. Everybody will be involved. How difficult it is, I mean. And disconnect. What are they doing? They don't relate it to the life. I remember we used to import, I was in a kind of a village, so lanterns. There were lanterns coming from Gujranwala. Right, and there were lanterns, very small, coming from Germany, right? They were very small, and this was almost double the height. And if we used to find some army man who used to go in from the villages in Peshawar or Quetta, there were smuggling places, there were market where they could find out smuggled stuff. So we would request them as a student, can you, uncle, can you bring me a lantern of German's lantern? And luckily I had one, right? And the rest of my family had this kind of lantern. Very simple thing. Germany lantern, the wick was this much. This Gujranwala lantern, the wick was this much. This used to consume almost 1/5 of the fuel, and the brightness was 5 times. Reason: this guy had made some holes here so that enough oxygen comes and entire fuel burns and no unburnt carbon comes and stays with this. So I didn't have to even clean its chimney for months and months. He thought that the more the wick and the flame is, the more the light will be. He didn't know the simple science, it's the unburnt, because I haven't given her the nose. Where is the nose? It's so simple that if we are telling the child combustion or kind of for ellipses and sinusoidal, these are the 99.99% curves we will come across in the nature, in our lives, everywhere, in the technology. If the child is not inspired on this, you have finished the child intellectually on the science and technology. Simple. Very, very simple. All this is network and so so simple things, but we don't connect it. We just tell them, oh, that there is a wavelength and a wavelength is a wavelength is a wave. What is wavelength is a wave? Lens law. Tell them very simple what it is and what it does for you. And then tell them, oh, this is the principle and this is where it doesn't work. Fine. The issue is, it's very simple. If I cannot connect myself to the future, what I am doing right now, I will not be interested in it. Will not be. I'm doing it for the labor. That is what makes it real. Connect everything to how interesting it is for you in the future, and you will enjoy this journey as the etc. etc. So another thing is individual trajectory. I think most of the teachers don't understand this. Even parents don't understand this. Like, oh, Sadia took 8 out of 10. Why did you take 6 out of 10? This is one of the most stupid sentence. Do you think Sadia and Nadia are two same species? Do you think the God is making has a stamp pad and he just stamps? If we are 7 billion, each 7 billion is individual and to be respected. That's why I use the word element. Each one of them is a distinct element. We have to discover it, and rather we have to enable her to discover herself. And she does not mean the element, the iron is useless. No, we need iron to make skyscraper. We don't need diamond to make that, right? Okay. Now here is a thing that teacher is 95%, if he really does his work, will remain busy. Now at the moment at 95% she is busy in the administrative things, and at 1 hour something learning things. The rest of the things he is doing in things which are not related to learning. That's why she doesn't find time to check what the child has done. The homework goes as such unchecked, and we come to know in December that a child is no good for the exam coming in the March. Reason? Teacher is overly busy into the nonsense created for them for the system. Right? Here is which EdTech can help a huge lot and take over this work from the teacher. Right? The assessments, where now assessments can be artificial intelligence based. You give the concept, system makes the questions themselves, and system can even kind of discover. We have done it actually. Since we have done it, so I know it. If she is finding problems with the square root, system can decipher the actual problem is not the square root. The child doesn't understand the multiplication. So it takes it back. So the trajectory is very interesting, and we know every child's, the parents know, the principal knows where is the pain point and what really I need to do absolutely better that she understands it. Simple. That's human cannot. Now our ratios in our city schools are 1:60. I went to my own village, 3 teachers, 168 students. Now, what a miserable condition. Can she really, if she gives an homework by any amount of, if you make the ratio, that's the condition actually. So that's where EdTech. If we think we are teaching class, no, we are not teaching class. It's not something that there are plants and you are just spraying them. We are teaching individuals. The person who is sitting in front of me is a future's ambassador. This is a future's entrepreneur. This is a future's judge. This is a future's IG. This is a future's sociologist. This is a future's prime minister. If that's not the thinking, if we think they are all vegetables and we just have to spray it, clean it, go, come next, ridiculous. So every child is a guru, hero and geek, but in our own area. Comparing them, But there are a lot of things those which we train the teachers on to avoid. What we're doing is this. Coming like a donkey, tap it this on this, push it into that, and little more, all 14 points of Jinnah, all 29 points of Nehru report. And the child says, okay, I am ready, now I can take it out. And he takes out, vomits in the class, and we clap. This is the process. And do you think the child is looking ambitiously at her future? No, the child is pain relieved. God forsake this teacher, and all this stuff and shit has gone away from me. Now, hopefully next time I will enter into a slightly better world. But she doesn't till the time and she comes out of the school system and goes to the life back. That's what we are doing. We cannot increase any child's potential. We are not God. God has already created a potential in that. We just have to not come in their way of that exfoliation of that potential. That's the first thing. We unintentionally are. And if we can a little bit facilitate that process, that multiplies things to enormous amounts. That is the change actually we are trying to bring. But starting from at least don't hurt, right? Children are automated, fast learners. They don't need your help to learn, right? But only the things in which they are interested. Yeah, in that context, we have to put everything which attracts them. Here we have done a lot of work. Okay, how even those things which we really want to convey, because we know if we have designs on them, we have to make it really beautiful and interesting for their psychology. Vygotsky was genius. I mean, Piaget and Vygotsky, if they put them together, if the Vygotsky is here, if the Piaget is setting, Vygotsky is too high, right? What he says, child might be here. That's called child to say, I can do this because he learned it. Here we can a little bit help. This is the learning zone, right? We have to keep the child in this learning zone, and that too on the edge. That is only by questioning. Okay, do you think how do the plant talk to each other? And that's the question child might not be thinking about. Richard Feynman, read any of the book, was very interesting. The best teacher of the physics on the planet. He said, because my father used to ask such a question that I used to think about, I'd never thought about it. So, and that's it, it's a questioning. Even we have design on them, we have to make things beautiful. It's like this. I'm inviting some people to my place. Example, I'm calling it school. Now I hate the word school. It should be changed because it is now synonymous of a police station or a jail or something which the children hate. Now I'm attracting people and they're paying for that as well. What do you think? If they have to pay for a ticket, they will come to them if the parent don't push them from home? Now that's the question. I have to make that process, that place, that social space so beautiful that the children insist to buy the ticket and come. Every day and every session. Right? Textbook, one of those papers which the children hate, is not the script. It's not the script. Even by design, by stated thing, is not the script. It is what to teach by an X amount of time. It's not about how to teach. How to teach is a totally different story. Easy, very beautiful story, but I give you just few examples so that to understand. For example, our physics books typically starts with this chapter 1. Chapter 1 is something else, but normally chapter 1, measurements. Length, mass, kilogram, second, ampere, Kelvin, mole, candela. Now imagine if I am teaching the same in the same session or kind of all of them, and then I go to the next chapter. The child in last 7 years journey, 8 years journey has an experience on meter, has understood many things about the kilogram, knows what a second is at her level, But the Ampere, Kelvin, Moore and Candela, she has not any experience on them. These are new words coming to him. If we don't teach this right at this point and take it to 2 weeks later, when we will be talking about the cells and we will be talking about the voltage, and we can ask the children, after the battery goes down, so how do we measure? What do we say battery has gone down, how much? And these things will be simple. Putting them here, and then they cram it, and then we say, oh, very good. She even knows Ampere and Kelvin. No, she doesn't know. She can vomit Ampere and Kelvin out of her memory only for those few days, and after 48 hours she does not know. And then, so you understand this. It's just by sequencing properly, because the textbook will say this, at the end of 6 months or 1 year, I want my children to have an understanding. It's not saying to create this understanding on day 1. No, create the understanding at the appropriate time. That is the teacher's script, right? And the activities in which. Another example, it's a real example. Believe me, both are real examples. I took a National Book Foundation's book on trigonometry. I was teaching 7th or 8th graders. And this was page 1, textbook. Children, there are 6 ratios, learn them, and then the exercise start. Exercise A. What is cosine of if the hypotenuse and this? For the textbook, it's okay to say this, because textbook is saying at the end of 1 year, I want children to have an understanding of this. Does not mean I have to create understanding in the same sequence. Now, the real story was to teach that I have to bring the children back to the triangle, and I say, you see, children, this is a triangle. If I cut it like this, you see, this ratio remains the same. If I cut it like this ratio is the same as this ratio, because I am making the same triangle bigger, right? This is so important quality that even if I have to measure the height of this tree and I can't climb, but I can walk to the tree, I just make a small triangle in take 2 pencils and make it, right? And if I make this on my paper, I know the ratio of this to this. Can I use the same ratio? I have walked 10 steps. Now, how many steps this is high? That is how we measured Mount Everest. And believe you me, I did it. And in next 15 minutes, class 7 and 8 students were measuring the heights of all the buildings around them automatically without me saying. They were inspired on it. Oh, I tell you how big the minaret of the Faisal Mosque is. I am talking Islamabad, and the real story 2014. If I tell them, okay, come cram and you will have a next exercise, what I have done? What a damage I have done, right? A couple of examples. How to teach. This is one very amusing thing, atom. We tell them the atom story in 1 hour. That's all. It connects them to the chemistry. Next chapter, configuration. Next chapter, how they are arranged on the periodic table. It tells them all at once what's happening in the nuclear chemistry and why gamma rays are coming out of it and alphas. It telling them what is heat really and the particles are striking each other. It telling them how domains. One concept, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 or 8 chapters done. But if you teach it the way it is in the textbook, you will take 9 months and plus a lot of anxiety, stress and hatred. They don't just hate the subject, they hate you as a teacher. Right? Same, maths. Maths is only about these 4 till class 12. Tell me any 5th, I'll give you $100. And then all rest of it is a problem solving where the enjoyment begins. Right? 99% of the math we use in our life is about estimation. Not the real math, estimated math. So it can be done in first 4 to 5 years and you're finished. But if you drag them into the jargons, zuazafe akal and adadi muhaddidat, then you have created the damage. Right? And remember, values are important because they have to work with people. I can't dwell on all topics, but values are not taught. That's why it's a system learning, not teachers learning. and chowkidar interacting with the child or canteen guy interacting with the child, there are certain no's which they should, there are subtractions, there are no addition, there are subtractions which we have to build in. This should be in every school's written big, and every teacher should know it by heart, and system should practice it. I think if there's one thing that we have to do, this is the thing. The way you do, the way you are creating that kind of a person. You are respecting, you're creating a person. You are creating an hostility, you're creating a criminal. Very, very simple. And 100 years from now, it will not matter what my bank account was, or the sort of things I lived in, or the kind of car I drove. But the world may be different because I was important in the life of a child. Thank you very much.